good, everyone? It's Kane One from Hijo De Ramon Music Library, and we are officially back with another sample breakdown. I know it's been a long ass time since I dropped something. An official pack was last year, August, I think, was my last drop, which was Cosmica. And I ended up taking some time off from dropping packs to focus on other things and try to just make music for myself again, and not so much to keep up with, constantly putting out sample packs. And I was noticing that it was kind of putting me in a rut. But I'm glad to say that I'm out of that rut and creating some of my favorite music to date. So this new sample pack is called Novela Themes. And it's basically a pack inspired by old telenovelas from the 80s and the 90s. Me being Mexican American, I grew up in a Spanish-speaking household for the most part. And my mom would watch not old of that time, but she would watch soap operas in Spanish on Telemundo and Univision and stuff. And that's what she would watch at night, and so would my dad. And I would notice that the music was really dramatic, really melodic. And at that time, of course, I wasn't producing, so I wasn't really saying oh, dope, I can sample this. It was more of just of the soundtrack of me growing up. And it wasn't until recently that, it served as an inspiration for this pack. So I kind of tapped back into those old shows on YouTube, trying to find the themes and going back and watching anything that was uploaded that had some scenes maybe, and just paying attention to the soundtrack. And again, it's very melodic, dramatic, and I love the sound. I also sprinkled in some classic Spanish love ballad music. So it's got that, again, very melodic, kind of dark and grimy. I know Jedi Mind Tricks sampled a lot of their stuff. A lot of underground cats sampled this type of music, as well as mainstream. But tapping into that 80s and 70s, early 90s type of vibes of Latin America, with some modern twists, obviously, to make it more current and easy to sample. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking and just get into the breakdown. So again, this is a sample off of Novela Themes, which is out now on my website and the Drum Broker. The link is in my bio. If you don't have it, go pick it up. I got more from this series coming soon. And the sample that we're breaking down from that pack is called Mírame a los ojos. It's kind of like my attempt at an old love ballad with a singer or a vocal line saying, "Look me in the eyes," and it says "Mírame a los ojos" is the vocal line in this sample, just to kind of give a vocal texture and to really nail that authentic, legitimate sound. So let's just get into it. To start this sample out, I was messing around with a B3 organ, and I kind of jump around from B3 organs. I use the Contact one. I think it's vintage organs. I use the Arterial one a lot, but lately I've been using the UVI station or UVI workstation. They have a B3, or it's called the B5. Excuse me. It's called the B5, and this is probably the best B3 organ emulation I've used. It's incredible. A lot of amazing presets. If you're going for that soul sound, gospel sound, this has it. And there's a patch in here that I used to create this set of chords. I'll play that for you. So yeah, that's that. And I actually recorded everything. That's a plugin, so I used MIDI notes to record those notes. But I ended up bouncing everything, or I printed everything to Wave to make it easier on my CPU, and just to kind of commit. Otherwise, I'd be tweaking this forever. So I ended up printing that, ran it through the Hollow Room and a limiter, just to kind of bring up the volume a little bit. And yeah, and that was that. The next piece was the bass, and the bass lately I've been using. Let's see, yeah, I've been using Trillion for a lot of my bass sounds. If it's not synth bass, obviously I'll go with the keyboards, but for anything live, if I don't have access to a session guide to play bass, I'll just use this. And also note that a few of the samples off the new pack do feature live bass from my guy Cartoons. Amazing bassist. If you follow him on Instagram, you know he is a beast. So yeah, he played bass on like I think 2 or 3 different cuts. I'm not 100% sure, but he's definitely on the pack. But anyways, I use Trillion for this bass line, and this is what it sounds like. The bass is kind of everywhere, or it's got like a rhythm where it just kind of like it's constantly moving. But I really liked it because it added like that movement that I wanted in the sample. I wanted this sample just to kind of like ride out and not kind of be sluggish. So this really helped to push it forward and to kind of keep your head nodding forward. So I had this first section, and then I added this other section here. The stabs, and then to get that effect in Trillion, if you go to where you tweak the settings. Oh yeah, so I use the retro 60s Epiphone. You go to the main, and then this is how I set it up. I just clicked all these 4 buttons, so like solo, glide, and then in the A section I reduce some of the attack, so that way when the notes come in, it kind of comes in real buttery and smooth and it doesn't click too hard. Because again, like with Trillion, it's not a real bass, so it's still just almost like synthesis, I guess, to emulate a bass sound. So it sounds kind of fake, right? But like the right texture is there to kind of sell it as a live bass. And within the mix, to me, it sounds legit. So that's that. I then added the stabs where the snare would go. So that sounds like this. And for that effect, I ended up using, I don't have it here anymore. It was a Contact library, and I believe it was the Orange Tree, some guitar library from Orange Tree. And I ran it through Amplitude 4, and it was the rotary preset. And I don't remember clicking or moving any settings. I just used that rotary preset, and it sounded great. And I panned it to the left a little bit, brought down the volume, and it worked. So this is what we got so far with that. All right, and then I had this going for a bit, and I knew for a fact that it was the perfect foundation to start messing with some vocals. So I brought out the mic, threw on auto tune. Let's see, what channel did I throw that on? Somewhere in here. I do not sing at all. Hold up, excuse me while I find where I guess it's not in here. But anyways, I did. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So this is pretty much my vocal chain, I guess. Uh, this is what I use to record, and auto tune is great. This was the key, the scale. This is the settings for the auto tune. I can't sing. This is a lifesaver. I do my best to sing as good as possible so auto tune doesn't sound too loud and it doesn't sound too obvious. But in some, if you solo out the tracks, you'll hear where the auto tune kicks in. But again, me showering everything in like spring reverb, EQing it, it kind of helps to hide some of that stuff so it's not too in your face. Maybe one day I'll become a much better singer, but for now, auto tune for the win. So I'll play the vocal, the main vocal, on where I started. So I'll play it for you now. Mírame a los ojos. Mírame, mírame, mírame. Mírame a los ojos. Mírame, mírame, mírame. And if you're familiar with this type of music, the singers of like these old songs are really like in their feelings, dramatic and like hysterical at some points, like they're just, they're really pouring their heart out in these songs. So I was just trying to tap into like that emotional, heartbroken guy singing on a song, so I honestly did my best, and I thought it turned out great. It worked, and especially when you chop it up, you speed it up, like it really sounds good. It's when you throw some drums on there too. But yeah, that was where I started with the vocal, and then I went ahead and added some layers on the Mírame part, which are these two layers right here. I'll play that for you now. Actually, I'll solo it out so you just hear the vocal. Mírame a los ojos. Mírame, mírame, mírame. Mírame a los ojos. Mírame, mírame, mírame. So yeah, kind of accenting those mírame parts really made it more of a dramatic vocal line. And then at the beginning, right after I say mírame a los ojos, I added some more vocal parts of like a la 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 type of riff. Didn't really need to add it, but I wanted to, and they ended up sounding good. So I'll play it for you now. And that's just stacking the original vocal with a higher pitched version of it. And mind you, all these vocals are being ran through like spring reverb and plate to give it like that vintage sound, I guess. I got in the habit of bouncing everything to get rid of those plugins, so that way, again, to free up more CPU. But I promise you, like when I first recorded this, it was dry and it was mainly just EQ, plate reverb, or spring reverb, and then just a little bit of vocal tweaking at the end with more EQ and maybe stereo shaper, and playing with the pitch. So let's see, I'll play all the vocals for you with all the other elements. Mírame a los ojos. Mírame, 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 mírame. There. So the next part is the B section here, where it kind of jumps into what would be, I guess, either the verse or the chorus, or just another section that adds more interesting textures. So to kind of separate this section from the first part, I added a bell and some different vocals. And the vocal for this one, wasn't as crazy as the first part. Is just me saying the word sí, which is yes in Spanish. And I'll play that for you now. So it's right at the beginning, and it worked. Like, it added some cool vocal texture to this part of the sample. So again, when you speed it up and you flip it, it just adds that extra element. And then the bell. The bell is from Keyscape. It's one of the toy pianos. I love those toy pianos because essentially they're just bells, and bells were a heavy element in these type of songs back in the day. So I'll play that line for you now. So yeah, and let's see if I have that. Oh, I do. So for that, I use the Toy Piano Glock Dry Bells. I use this preset a lot. I have fun with it when I'm playing it. You know, at that last little section, I kind of like shake the bells a little bit to make it sound more live and not so like stale and robotic. Stuff like that really helps to sell it. To process that, it was just limiter. I don't know why I put it, or I'm sorry, an amplifier. I don't know why I put this in the front. Usually I put it at the end, but I guess it's on top. I put reels, the hollow room to give it like, you know, more of a spaced out vibe, or like it's playing live in a room. And then the VC2A just to kind of, not pancake it, but to kind of kill the transients a little bit. So yeah, I'll play that section so far. There's two more elements in that, but this is what we got so far. So there's that. And then that section felt a little too empty, so decided to add a flute and a guitar. And both of these are plugins. The flute is from Contact Factory Library. If you guys have Contact or Native Instruments Contact, it's like a yellow interface. You know what? Let me just pull it up. It's a yellow interface. It's called, I think, Contact Elements. Oh no, Contact Factory Library. And I use the World flutes, and all of these flutes are fire. They're amazing. I think a lot of these are in mono. You tweak with the reverb settings and the other settings, and you get some really nice sounds. Again, it's not the real flute, but if that's all you have, then that's all you have. I ended up using those flutes, and I did this flute line. That sounded good enough for me, so I ran with it. Did add reverb, but I'm wondering if I did some processing before that, which I'm pretty sure I did. I just can't remember which channel it was on, but it seems like it showered in like Spring Reverb or Plate. So again, just to kind of space it out. With the guitar, I ended up using another Orange Tree library from Contact. And it was pretty much a dry guitar that I ran through Amplitude to give it like that fuzz. And this is what it sounds like. Yeah, so just dirty guitar. Oh, here we go. So Decimort, I think, adds a lot of like that grit. Let me see if it does. There we go. So yeah, Decimort does add a lot of like that that grit and like that griminess. So you can look at the settings here. This is what I used. I usually go with the MPC 60. I think that's the default preset that comes up, and I just fuck with the preamp and I reduce the output because this adds a lot of like volume, but like that warmth and like that grit. So there's that. And this is what we got for that whole section right here. Yep. So that's the A section, B section, and the very last part is just a kind of a dumbed down version of everything, just to kind of open things up a little bit. And it includes the stabs, the bass, the organ, the la 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 vocals, and kind of like a ghost or like a reverbed out version of the vocal that was over here, which I can play that section for you now. So yeah, I just took the Mírame vocal line, showered it in reverb. Any reverb will work. It really doesn't matter. Just kind of like throw it in there, make it super wet. I think for this one it was spring. And you know, it just kind of adds again like that texture in the background to kind of like remind you of what the main vocal sounds like and ties everything together. And that's pretty much it. I mean, this is the entire sample. This is where I stopped. I could have kept going to build it out, but I felt like for the purpose of a sample pack, this worked. So I guess I'll end it here. This is Mírame a los ojos, sample off of the Novela Volume 1. Go get yourself a copy if you don't have it yet. There's this sample and 9 other samples included. If you guys enjoyed this breakdown, let me know in the comments what you guys think. And if you have the sample pack, let me know what you think of that. And if you want to see more breakdowns from that pack, let me know which samples you want to see. Until next time, you guys take care. Peace. Mírame